Welcome back to Stress Less, Joy More. All about well-being with Doris and
Paula.
today we are happy to be joined by Tanya Levy. Tanya is a counselor, an educator, writer, an energy healer, mental wellness guide, and a digital artist. As an artist, she photographs nature, especially cloud hearts, light, or whatever calls to be captured. I love that. Her healing photos speak to her and tell her their message. She also makes individualized healing photos and jewelry. Her writing has been published in 365 book series by Dan Tich, Beyond Energetic Essentials and Self-Care for Educators. Welcome, Tanya.
Thank you. So happy to have you here today, Tanya. And we have known each other now for 6 years, and we met in the height of COVID, that in 2020 we were on an online retreat together.
Yes.
And I just remember the energy that you had and how that really was the beginning of our friendship and how we kept in touch, and we worked on a couple of projects together. And
Yes.
yeah, and Tanya, what comes to mind when I think of you is someone with just a beautiful, beautiful big heart and a generous spirit, and you have a lot of playfulness to you. So welcome to our podcast.
I can be impish.
That is true.
I can tell you a story from this week if you'd like.
I would love to hear one.
And so every year I do a workshop for the social services students on genograms, and genograms are basically a picture of your family. And the point of doing a genogram as a helper would be to identify the key relationships in your life that you feel are important and how they are set up, whether they're conflictual or connected or kind of more distant. And so in order to demonstrate a genogram, I took in some stuffed animals. So I had a very large Darth Vader, that I brought in and sat in the chair, and a little Darth Vader, and I said, this is Darth and Darth Jr., and I explained that they were part of the genogram, and then it was Pinky the owl that had come in for therapy, and she had left Darth, and she was now with Iggy the iguana, and that together they had two twins, Sunny and Red, and she was coming in to see me because she was worried about Red. And of course, Sunny and Red are TY Beanie Baby Bears, the bigger ones, right? And so, but the whole point is that because I brought in that visual representation of a genogram with stuffies, everybody's going to remember that because they're going to remember that I brought in the stuffies. And I explained when I was doing it that one time I did the workshop and there was a student in the class that was so concerned about the fact that I had these stuffies in my house. And she's like, well, where do you keep them? I'm like, well, sometimes they're in the living room and sometimes they're in the spare room. I guess it depends on where they need to be. But how is your house organized? Like, how can you find space for that? Like, I'm really worried about your house. I said, and I really want to reassure you that my house is okay and that you don't need to worry about my house. You can just worry about your house. And so you never know when something will become playful, but a playful way to look at our patterns and how we can move forward in our lives.
Wow.
And so then, of course, I didn't take Darth home the first day because he was too big to carry to the car. And I waited till Paul picked me up the next day. So everybody who came in for therapy in my office, they would sit in the chair and they just kind of look at this Darth in the chair beside me and look at me and look at Darth. And then I'd have to explain the story all over again about why Darth was in my counseling office.
I love it. Okay, before we go any further, can you tell people what you do professionally and energetically so they can get to know you a little bit more, Tanya?
Well, professionally, in September, I'll be 25 years working at a college campus as a counselor. And at the campus, I work in what they call the School of Access. And that's where adults either come to work on their high school diploma or they come to upgrade credits for future programs and have a high school diploma, or we have another program called Achieve, which is more for students who had IPPs on their high school transcript to build life skills. And so professionally, I guess I'm what you would consider a counselor or a therapist. And through that role, I do a lot of education as well. Sometimes I do workshops. And so there's a lot of psychoeducation to the job on how to deal with anxiety and depression and how to manage learning disability, learning challenges. I have a lot of students that are neurodivergent, a lot of students with attention challenges. So that's kind of my day job. I also have a private practice where I supervise candidates who are becoming therapists and help them get their supervision hours. And that really is lovely because A, I get to pass on the legacy of my life work, and B, because I'm working with new counselors in the field, it keeps me current and helps me kind of know what if they're learning something, then I'll go learn it because it tells me what's kind of most current. And I also do a lot of creative work. And so right now, for example, I'm working with Michelle Greenwell. She's doing a program called Symphony of Radiance, which is based on the elements. And she's like a movement practitioner. And I, every week, take 6 photos in nature that relate to that element and provide them to the group. And so this week it's water. So I was out early this morning, well, early for me, taking pictures of the snow and the icicles because that's still water, right? Yes, when we think water, we think beach and ocean, but really water is in many forms around us all the time and easily flows from state to state. And so I find, so I do a lot of photography work and I take a lot of photos and then I put them into jewelry. This is a piece that I did. This isn't actually photography. This is rose petals that I put in a necklace and then added alcohol ink to. I do a lot of art and I created a deck with Michelle called Affirmations for the Body and Biofield. So that's just some of my art there, you see. I do a lot of writing and right now I'm going to have a piece in a book. It's a grief anthology that's coming out. I think it's either later this year or early next year, and I have a piece of art in another grief. So I write a lot about grief as well, because I also am very interested in gardening and the connection between the two. Because if you think about a garden, there's always something growing and there's always something decaying, and the decay goes into the growth, and the growth goes into the decay. So there's just constant cycle, and I think that is a very strong metaphor for life. And I've also given plants and seeds to students. I think that's most of what I do. When you're really creative like me, it's really hard to put it into one sentence. Because like last weekend I did a workshop called Finding What Is Hidden, and so we painted. And then what we did afterwards is we drew lines around everything we saw. And so then Michelle saw it in the group. I showed it to them and they saw a turtle it's upside down. A turtle in the middle. Can you see that?
Yes.
And the turtle is shown up every week in Symphony of Radiance. And so I think that to me, everything is so interconnected.
Yeah. Okay, so tell me, when did you first sense that, creativity and all this different type of art that you do, written and photography and hands-on art, when did you make that connection between healing and creativity?
Well, my mom said when I was 2, I was never without a pen and a piece of paper in my hand. So I think I've always written. I've always written poetry. I've always been very involved spiritually with life. Did a lot of prayer as a young person and a lot of youth work. I think that when I first did therapy, when I did woman abuse therapy and therapy around violence and sexual assault, it's very difficult work. So I think I became more involved in craft work and writing then, and I remember doing markets even then, and because I needed some place for the stories to go, because the stories come in and I receive them and I listen to them and I support them and I help people create tools to respond to them, but then I still kind of sometimes carry the story.
Mm.
And I think that the healing work is to take the story and move through the pain to the any healing we can have or any learning or any legacy. Not that we experience trauma to have learning, but if we have experienced trauma, to try and move it to a place where we can learn from it as much as possible, realizing it is, of course, painful. And so I think that I began to be creative, and that would have been about 30 years ago, probably. 30, yeah, probably 30 years ago, 35 years ago. And I think that just followed me. So whenever I had difficult stories, something I couldn't process, I would go. But the photography, when I met my current husband, which would have been probably, when was that, 2009, I had an old phone. It was a flip phone. So he bought me a new phone, a Samsung. And one day I was upstairs in the bathroom and I liked the way that the light was coming in through the window. So I took a picture, but I accidentally left the flash on. And when I left the flash on, I made this beautiful orb, like with these, like this red orb, but it looked like a flower. And I thought, oh, that's really cool. I think I'll do that again. And that was probably about 1 million photos ago. Actually, when I Flickr the other day to see, I think I've uploaded about 1.4 million photos. I could check, but anyway, it's definitely a lot of photos. And I think that now I probably take at least 5 photos a day. And at the same time, I was in a group called Small Stones, which was a group where you write small pieces of writing. That's why they call it Small Stones. And what happened was I would write a lot. I would post a lot of, every time I was in the group, I would find a cloud heart. I kept posting cloud hearts, and they finally just said, thanks, Heart Lady. So they nicknamed me Heart Lady, which is why I made my business Heart Lady Inspiration. And now people will post on my Facebook page hearts from all over the world. And they'll say, I saw this heart, I thought of you. I saw this cloud heart, I thought of you. I thought this heart at the beach, I thought of you. True story.
Wow. And, I think of, therapy in different ways, right? We have talk therapy, we have somatic movement therapy.
Yes.
And I'm seeing that this is a really important piece for many people is, I don't know what you call it, creative therapy.
Well, I mean, some people call it art theory, but what I say to people is you have to find your way. Like, it has to come out. Like, if we're carrying some sort of pain or some sort of unresolved something, I mean, pain is an easy word to use, but an unresolved story, a belief that doesn't, you either have to, I mean, you can shake it out, move it out, talk it out, breathe it out, write it out, sing it out, dance it out, but it's always better to have it out.
Mm.
And I remember one student came in to see me, and he had been suicidal. And I always ask students if they were suicidal, and he shocked me by telling me that he was, because I didn't get that original impression. And so the next time he came in to see me, he had said that he really liked water. So I had gone to the dollar store and found this really nice journal with a boat on it. And I said, my intuition tells me you could use this. And he went on to pretty much fill the journal through the semester. And I think that when you are creative, it helps you support others to be creative.
Mm.
But then there's no pressure. But I just had an intuition that it would be helpful to him, and it was. Some people writing isn't helpful. Some people work it out in the basketball court, right? I mean, I think that some people work it out through hiking or some people are painters. Like I have a lot of students that love to draw and paint. And then like my office at work is full of paintings that they've made because they somehow sense that I know about how to put the story into creativity. And so then they do it and then they want to leave it behind when they leave. And so then when they leave, they often give me pieces of art.
Wow. So I see that then that this creativity is healing for you and it's also
Yes.
healing for them.
Well, I think we heal in community and I struggle sometimes because in therapy you're supposed to have minimal self-disclosure, right? But in many ways that's a very colonial view of therapy. It's a very Western view of therapy, and I'm not opposed to, I mean, the therapy session should not be about me, it should be about the person I'm working with, obviously. But at the same time, if I don't show up as myself and be authentic about the fact that I'm an artist, then maybe I'm not sharing something with them that will be helpful to them.
Mm.
And I think that my one of the teachers was walking by me yesterday and she said all the students were just singing your praises in the classroom. I'm like, okay. And a student came into my office and she said, we were just talking about you. I'm like, okay. She said, we all agreed that we like you as a therapist because you treat us like we're human. I'm like, okay. How did you want me to treat you? No, we like that you treat us like a human. She said, sometimes people come and it's like they're reading a script off the paper and they barely acknowledge us. And you see, I think that is the piece in creativity that helps the therapy because when you're a creative person, you have a relationship with whatever you're creating. You have a relationship with your writing. You have a relationship with your painting. You have a relationship with the jewelry you create. Everything you do, you cannot deny that you have a relationship with words. Like I probably have words on my skin. I dream in words, right? And I think that because I have a relationship with all of that, it's easier for me to have a relationship with the person sitting in front of me because and you can't, like I told this story in the junior workshop the other day. My father died April 4th, 2017. And a year to the day, I woke up and your body always remembers. Your body always remembers grief. I woke up and I'm like, what is wrong with me? The guy was just a mess. And I'm like, oh, it's a 1 year anniversary of my dad's death. So I still go to work. And I had this older student come in for a session. She took one look at me and she said, what's wrong with you? I'm like, well, what do you mean? She said, well, you're something wrong with you. Like, cause she used, like you, I'm very grounded and centered. And she said, I don't know what's wrong with you, but there's something wrong with you. And I said, well, you want to know the truth? It's the year anniversary of my father's death and I'm falling apart. She said, I knew there was something wrong. She said, doesn't grief suck? And then she went on to talk about her grief. I mean, it didn't become a therapy session, but me and my dad. But the point of that is she knew that because we had a therapeutic relationship. And I could have lied. I could have said, I'm fine. But there's two problems with that. Problem number one is I wasn't, and I like to be authentic. And problem number two is she might have thought whatever was wrong with me had something to do with her.
Mm.
And that was what I wanted to avoid, right? And then it opened the door for her to share about her grief. And I'm not breaking confidentiality because I see thousands of students and it could be like, and I'm not sharing any names. And I talk openly about grief with students, but I think that it's to be present means you have to be vulnerable. And sometimes we've had vulnerability hangovers in this work.
Mm.
Like I left the workshop the other day and I'm like, oh my goodness, I talked too much about my family and myself. My goodness. The students they're just like listening to the workshop and working away on their assignment. They have no idea of what process is going on inside of me.
Mm-hmm.
What process is going on inside of me is, have I talked too much about myself? Because there's always that line of how vulnerable do I want to be when I show up as a healing presence?
Hmm.
And how vulnerable can I manage to be? But I think that people that are showing up for healing, they're already vulnerable. They're vulnerable because they're showing up for healing. So there's a reason why they're not feeling 100%. And they're vulnerable because the healing process requires, for it to work, there has to be a level of openness to the learning, right? And so I think art is vulnerable. Like if I produce a piece of art and you look at it, then you know more about me because I'm in the art. If I write a poem, you know more about me because I'm in the poem. Now, the poem could have nothing to do with me personally, but the fact that I wrote about nature tells you I appreciate nature. So that's already a vulnerability.
Hmm.
And I think that through that vulnerability comes the healing and the strength and the growth. So it's always that paradox. What was your original question?
Yeah, you know what? I'm not sure. What I'm hearing is that, art in whatever form has this ability to heal through connection. Because that's what I'm hearing is connection
Yes,
in this,
yes,
connecting with the art, connecting with self, connecting with other. And we know that connection is a key piece in the healing
yes,
process. So, what a powerful medium for you to, bring into your life for yourself and for the people that you work with.
yes. And expression.
Mm,
So so
yes.
it gets it out and helps the processing of the feelings. Because
Yeah.
feelings matter.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of times people go to healing, counseling, somatic work to be heard, to be
Mm,
seen, to be witnessed, and to be held kind of energetically.
mm. To be seen, to be heard, to be witnessed, to be held energetically. That is beautiful. Doris, what's coming up for you?
I'm holding hearts in my hand, and I'm just absorbing, you know, you said it so beautifully. We can release it through, on the basketball court, or we can release it hiking, or we have this powerful tool of creativity in different forms. I think it's not stressed enough, the importance of creativity and art in all forms. What's showing up for me is curiosity, expression of emotions that comes through the art. May I ask if that was available for you in your journey, maybe through your childhood? When did you become aware that this is the important piece in your life?
I don't know. My mom said I always had a pen and paper in my hand.
Mm.
Probably from the age of 2. She said one time I didn't have a pen and I scratched the car. I said, "What did you do to me?" She said, "You didn't know any better. I put you in the car and drove you to church." I'm like, "Thank you." Scratched all around the brand new car because I wanted to create something. Whew.
Mm.
True story.
Mm.
I think that, I mean, my parents weren't artists, but my parents were the type of people. I mean, my dad had MS most of my life. My mom became paralyzed when I was 27. But we were allowed to be curious. In fact, I asked so many questions as a kid, they nicknamed me Question Box. And I remembered that when I was doing the art workshop last weekend, because she did this workshop where exercise where we breathed and then we processed our feelings. And for every feeling, we were to put a symbol on the page. And I think one of the feelings was curiosity. And I started making questions, and I remembered that they used to call me Question Box. And I think I had the type of mother. I mean, she was very pragmatic. I mean, she would make spaghetti sauce like on a Sunday afternoon, enough spaghetti sauce for 3 months, right? Like she was like like she could get Martha Stewart a run for her money, right? Like she was washing windows when I was like over writing poetry, right? And wondering why I
Mm.
wasn't helping her wash windows. Um, but I think there was that understanding that she understood that I was creative and she just let me be creative. She tried to get me to learn how to sew. I couldn't sew to save my soul. I have a sewing machine now. I'm trying. Over 60, I might manage to have a pair of pants. I did manage to have a pair of pants. But I think that my mother was the type of person that even though she was very pragmatic, she realized I wasn't, and that was okay. And she just let me be like that. The joke in my family is I'm probably from the milkman because they were all business people. Like they ran businesses, they were managers. And then there was me. I was like this, free-spirited helper, spiritual writer. I mean, I was always very goal-oriented and driven too, and I'm not that mellow, but compared to them, like they were like, straightforward business people. You did this. And my dad had a book because they ran a business for years. It was like a corner store before mom became sick, and he would have the book, and every day he would write the weather for 5 years. So he would have 6 columns in the book. He would have the date for the year and the weather that day and the next year and the weather, so that he can compare the weather and the sales for every day of the year.
Mm.
Every day of the year.
Wow.
Um, but they knew I was a poet. They just let me be myself.
How beautiful that they were able to give you that space, though,
Yes.
you were very different from their pragmatic business world.
Yes. My brother used to say, and would still say today, because he's still with us. He's 4 years younger than me.
Yeah.
He doesn't act like he's younger than me sometimes. He would say, "You always had your head in the clouds."
Mm.
And I would just say, "Well, I like the view," you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but very supportive of my writing.
Mm.
And so I think that, I don't know, it's like asking somebody who loves to golf, when did they first hit a ball? Or asking someone who loves to move, when did they first dance? Or asking someone who plays the piano, when did they first make music? Or asking a baker, when did they make their first cookie? I mean, my son's a foodie. I have pictures of him 6 years old up on a chair with a huge mixer making cookies.
Mm.
I mean, he was creating in the kitchen, maybe because he thought otherwise he wasn't going to get fed, but he was creating in the kitchen at an early age. And I mean, he was never without a ball in his hand. He's still like, when he's off, he's at the golf simulator down the road, and then he's on the not court, what do you call it? Golf place. Grass? No. Oh my goodness. Anyway, he's out golfing is the point.
Yeah. Yeah. And you
But
know what?
he always had that. And I remember in high school, he didn't want to go to art class. He didn't need it to graduate. And I finally gave up on getting him to go to art class. And I went in the garage and he was working on his car. And he said to me, "Mom, this is my art."
Mm.
And I think that that is the piece that I try to bring to every student.
Mm.
It's not about going to art class.
Mm.
It's about figuring out what you do that's like art for you. And if it's working on a car, go work on a car. If that's what helps you heal, if that's what helps you sort life out, if that's what gives you a sense of confidence and satisfaction, is that's what fills your cup, reduces your stress, gives you balance, whatever way you want to look at it. At the end of the day, we have to balance the stress so it doesn't win,
Mm.
right? We have to figure that out, but it's not the same for everybody.
Exactly.
And
Find
it
your
shouldn't
art.
be.
Yeah.
And so I think that that is a piece that's really important to me, is for people to build the tools that work for them so that they can, when they leave my office, I'm not stressed out about are they going to be okay because I've given them something they can do to help themselves or they've figured it out because really we're the experts on ourselves.
Yeah. And
Did I answer your question, Doris?
yes, definitely. I love, you have to find your art. And, it's that gift parents can give to a child when it's seen and heard, though it's maybe very different from their world. I think that's amazing to see that is possible, because sometimes, people say this is how we are. And yeah, very inspiring. I wonder if maybe we could expand this. You said it so beautifully. You find your art, and that's also a way how to balance stress. Could you maybe share a little bit more about that? Maybe even the nervous system, because I think sometimes people don't understand that being
Sure.
you, being authentic, finding your art is so crucial at releasing the stress that we have.
Well, this is more Paula's area of expertise as well, but as we know, our nervous system likes to fight or flight. It also likes to freeze, and we can sometimes fawn where we're over caring for someone. And we can also flop where we can't do anything. And Janine Fisher talks about the shame part showing up. And I think that it's helping the people I work with understand that when their nervous system responds, it's not really in their control. Like their nervous system's just trying to cope with whatever stress they have. And I see a lot of frozen people and I talk to them about, well, okay, so if you're frozen, you need to thaw. And they're like, I need to what? I said, you need to thaw. What? Well, you're frozen, right? You can't move. So you need to figure out how to thaw. And they give me them. All right, Tanya, look. I said, so where should we start? Like, can you feel your feet on the earth? Sometimes I tell them to breathe through their feet. Some don't like that, but some do. Um, and then I say, okay, so you always start with the breath. What if that doesn't work? What if you move? Well, if that doesn't work, what if you just look around you and notice 5 things you can see? Like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is very popular. 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can touch, 2 things you can smell, 1 thing you can taste. But then that's hard sometimes too. So then I say, well, what about if you imagine leaves on a stream? So whatever's stressing you out just become leaves on a stream. And then for some people, it's spending time with a pet, spending time with someone they're close to. For some people, they don't want to be with people at all. They just want to be alone. A lot of students, I find, interestingly enough, unthaw through gaming. And even though gaming can be an addiction, it's also a very safe place to connect, right? Because you're connecting not as yourself, right? You're connecting as someone else with people that tend to be very supportive because they tend to be like you. They're looking for connection because they can't find it locally, right? And so I think I mean, I've worked with students who are so frozen that it's like, okay, can you just go in the fridge and get an orange and peel an orange while I'm on the phone with you? Because they can't even eat, like they're just so frozen. Can you just, while I'm on the phone with you, can you put water in the kettle, turn it on, and make 1 cup of tea? Can you drink a glass of water? Can you put away 1 top? Can you put away 1 pair of socks? When I get off the phone, can you have a shower? Can you play a song? Can you go eat something? Because sometimes I think we think healing needs to be this big, beautiful, like butterfly, like I'm going to transform my whole life. And really, sometimes it's peeling a tangerine and eating it. Like, really. The longer I do this work, the more I think it's simple. How are you eating? How are you sleeping? How are you moving? How are you connecting? Right? Like it's about, you know, what are you listening to? How's your rhythm? Are you doing the things you like to do? And if you're not, what's one thing you could try the next week? Just one thing. It doesn't have to be 7. Don't have to redo your whole house. How about you just open a window? That's what students say to me. I liked my wall until I met you, and now I got too many windows and too many doors. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. So you have windows and doors, but now I can't choose. Open one and see what happens. Then you can close it and open the next one. You mean I can go through a door at a time? That's what I would recommend, right? So, does that help, Doris? Is that what you were looking for?
Yeah, I would invite our listeners to just re-listen, because this was like a therapy itself. Check this, check that. And what inspired me is, that maybe that was missing for me, to come to the creative process. It's not like we're always just creating and it just flows and we do so many things as you offer us, how much creativity we have, but sometimes it's doing the little things to move ourselves, so maybe we can come to our art, or even find our art with opening that doors. Yeah, that's landing for me. And I'm curious, Paula, what's showing up on your side?
Yeah, but at first I was thinking I'm not very creative. When we were first talking, I'm going, oh, I don't do, um, hands-on art. And then as you talked more, Tanya, I thought, yeah, there is a creative piece to me. Some of it's through my movement, some of it's through writing, some of it's through creating, a workshop or a course. And for those that think they're not creative, that's a bit of a challenge, I'm thinking. So what would you say to those that say, oh, I'm not very creative?
I would say notice a tree the next time you walk,
Hmm.
because very connected to creativity is mindfulness. And I have a lot of clients I work with who walk and don't see anything,
Hmm.
because when they're walking, they have so many thoughts that are stressing them, and their thoughts are very intrusive and very quick, and they're on their to-do list, and I have to get this done, and they're not really breathing. They're just going from place A to place B. And I say to them, can you look at a tree? There are no trees on my walk. Are you there's no trees on your walk? Well, there might be trees on my walk, but I never see them. I said, so this is my homework for you. I want you to notice one tree one day this week when you're walking. So then the next time they come to my office, I saw a tree. So tell me about the tree that you saw. Or another student might come in and say, when I'm really stressed, I don't see anything. I just walk down there and walk back. I don't see anything. Okay. And then it's, I figured out that if I put my head up when I walk, sometimes I see things, right? It's the same thing in the kitchen. Like maybe there's a recipe you've had for like 3 months that you've wanted to make and you've never made it. So it starts by going to get the ingredients, making sure you have the ingredients in your cupboard, having the recipe ready so that when you go to do it, it is not going to take you 3 hours because you've got the ingredients ready and you have the recipe and you're ready to go. I have a list on my fridge of the things I want to make in the next month, because sometimes I forget, right? Like I buy lemons because I want to make lemon fermented honey, and then I never make it because I forget that I bought lemons because you're so stressed, right? But making lemon fermented honey is creative. Making an altar at home to supports in bulk, because it's now that we're halfway between winter and spring, right? So maybe you make an altar at home that invites spring in. You put a little plant and a candle, and when you're stressed, you just sit down with the candle and you breathe, and maybe you think about one thing you'd like to invite into your week, like calm or peace. But that's creativity.
Hmm.
So I think it's my son and I have this conversation because he's supporting me in my health goals and I'm supporting him in his health goals. And he always says to me over and over again, Mom, it's the little things that add up. And we're so good at not nurturing ourselves. We're so good at not being compassionate and connected to ourselves. We're so good at just keeping our head down and getting the thing done from A to B. So I say to people things like, so what's your favorite tea? And they tell me, and I go, so you have any in your cupboard? No. What's your favorite fruit? And they tell me, you have any in your fridge? No. Favorite vegetable? No. Favorite mug? Oh, it's at the back of the cupboard. I said, so this is your homework. Buy your favorite tea in the next week and make it once. And take your favorite cup from the back of the cupboard and put it in the front. Because I don't know why we're so afraid to nurture ourselves. Like
Mm.
we don't deserve it, or we're not important, or it doesn't matter, but it all matters. Drinking your favorite treat or your favorite cup, it's all about sustenance. It's all about sustaining ourselves. And in winter, especially, we need to sustain ourselves more.
Wow. And you think of, we were taught when we were growing up, put the nice china away. Don't use
Yes.
that, keep it for special occasions. It's like, no, put that at the front of the cupboard. So you grab that. I really appreciate what you were talking about with regards to the mindful part of it. That really being present is a key piece in our nurturing and our nourishing of ourselves. What are some of the ways that you nurture and nourish yourself, Tanya?
I think I hydrate a lot. So water, um, and I like tea and I like coffee. And I also always have, I make fermented honey and I have it in the fridge. So if I'm not feeling well, I put like a tablespoon of honey in hot water. So I always have, and I have a lot of herbs I've dried from the garden. So I'll make my own like lemongrass tea or lemon balm tea because those really nourish the nervous system. I always make sure I try to do meal prep on Sundays so that I can take healthy food for the week and not reach for for processed food. I try to move each day, even if it's for 5 or 10 minutes, and take breaks. Especially doing 20, like every 20 minutes for 20 seconds, look 20 feet away. I might do it once a day, but at least I do it. I try to go to bed at a decent hour and have an end point for my day and turn off the screen, though I am a little bit addicted to word games. I try to connect with people that fill me up.
Mm.
And I do a lot of online groups like writing and like movement groups like your Qigong class. But I also have I like essential oils. So upstairs in the place where I get ready, I have essential oils that I use in the morning. And I don't know if you've heard of Sound Essence sprays by Evelyn Mulders, but I have a lot of sprays. Um, and I think even like having hand cream, like if your hands are dry, to put hand cream on. I try to have, I try to ground and center through the day. I try to make time to connect. When I met Paul, he said, you're really bad at carving out time for yourself. You carve out time for everybody else, but you're bad at carving out time for yourself. So every once in a while, I ask him how I'm doing, and he goes, like, I'm this much better, right? So I think Mara Glatzel, I listen to her a lot. She's a kind of body positive therapist in the States, and she says that instead of trying to make your day completely joyful, just think about adding 5%.
Mm.
So if you like herbal tea, like add it to 5% of your day. If hot chocolate brings you joy, add that to 5%. If going outside and walking in the snow, add 5%. If hanging out with your pets or your kids brings you joy, 5%. If watching a show with your husband, or a partner, 5%, right? So it's like that 5% enjoy. So I try to focus on like the 5%.
Mm. Wise advice. And I kept hearing the different senses come in. You're talking about all of the senses there through that. So it's very engaging to me that, oh yeah, I can just do this little thing for a few moments and I can easily nourish myself during the day.
I'll tell you the truth, I used to hate to clean. Besides the fact that I have environmental sensitivities to cleaning supplies, it was very stressful to me. I can't tell you why. I guess I have cleaning trauma. So um, now I'll like light a candle, set an intention for the cleaning, put on a podcast I like or music I like, maybe bring up a nice cup of tea or coffee. I mean, I'm not saying it takes me 25 minutes to get ready to clean, but use essential oils and the cleaning instead of harsh products. And so then cleaning goes from being a stress to being fun and uplifting, right? Now it's
Mm.
just about clearing space and making space and making my home more like wasabi welcoming, right? And so I think it's a lot of times it's just giving ourselves permission to enjoy the things that are even hard sometimes.
Mm.
Because we all have hard things.
Yeah.
And when my parents were really ill, they're both gone now, God bless them. But I learned that I had to do something on the way to see them to nurture myself and do something on the way home to nurture myself. And I remember one time standing in the kitchen and I was crying, and my son says, "What's wrong with you?" I said, "Well, you get the worst of me." I said, "I go there and I give them all my energy and I give them, um, and then I come home and I'm tired." And he looked at me and he goes, "Mom, the best of you is right in front of me. You're fine."
No.
So I think that when we nurture the relationships of the people we're closest to, which includes ourselves, because you got to love the one you're with, it allows us to handle those hard things.
Mm.
Because I'm sure there's people listening that are caring for somebody because it's just the generation and the demographic we're in.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Did
beautiful. And
you
again,
want me to
I'm
talk
hearing,
about my stone exercise? I'm sorry.
I was just going to ask you about that. Please share your stone exercise with us.
So a long, long time ago, I came back from the beach with my son, and we we're stone collectors. And I had a bunch of stones in my office. I'm always interested by, like, how did this stone become like this? Like, is it like a hat, or is it like a girl wearing a necklace? I think it's a sombrero, but how did this get so smooth? And you know, is this one almost a heart? So I had these stones on my desk, and a student came in and she said, "Oh, can I have one of those? That's really cool. I like the way that looks." Da, 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 da. So off she goes with the stone. Then the next week, a student comes in and she goes, "I really like the way that looks. That looks kind of like an egg. Can I have that?" And I'm like, "Sure." And the next week, a student comes in and says, "Can I have a stone?" And I'm like, "Yes." And then I'm like, "Okay, what is going on here? Why does everybody want a stone?" So I started on orientation day bringing in some stones and saying, "Will you please take one with you? Because I know that this is about how much you tell me when you come into the program. And you can continue to just tell me that little bit and never tell me anymore. But I know that you have about this much you need to share to learn. And so I want you to take this with you and remember that they call them sensory motor things. And this is a sensory item that tells you I believe in you and that I'll hold my belief in you long after you don't hold your belief in you. And what I want you to do is I want you to carry it with you. And when you graduate, give it back to me.
Mm.
Students can always tell me where their stone is. They can't always tell me where their homework is, but they can always tell me where their stone is. I've gotten stones back in the mail, in the bank line. I've had students stop me and give them to me when I'm out in the public. I've had students bring me other stones because they wouldn't give up their original stone. I've had students come back after not completing the program and say, "I want to come back, Tanya, and I still have your stone." Because here's the thing. We need items to remind us of healing. We need sensory, concrete things to remind us of our healing. Besides the fact that they're great things to carry and hold, it's an opener. Because if they want to come and talk to me about something and they're nervous to come to my door, they can come to my door and say, "I have your stone. I've been carrying around in my knapsack. I want to let you know." And I'll say, "Okay, that's great. Anything else you want to talk about? What else is going on? How you doing? How's your week going?" And they can come to my door because they have the stone, and the stone allows them to be connected to me and to have something to talk about. So it's a connector.
Wow. I love that. Is there a process that you go through? Is there a little something that you do with that when you give them the stone?
I talk about what I just said. I talk about all that.
Bring that,
And then
Tanya.
people send me stones from, like my friend sent me this. She tumbled it in a rock tumbler and sent me. So, and my coworker gave me a bunch of heart-shaped stones that she found on the beach. Like, so it's like the hearts, right? Like all of a sudden they realize I like stones, so they bring them to me. Or one time a student was out in the trail and she brought me in like 10. She said, I found these and they're all shiny and I want you to use them in your stone exercise. I'm like, sure. So if she came to my office at where I work, you'd see that I have stones everywhere.
Mm, well,
Again, it's that connectivity, the willingness to be vulnerable.
that's powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I love that. Doris, I'm wondering if there's anything coming up for you.
Well, I was reflecting how kids like to collect stones. My daughter still, wherever we go, either to the mountains or to the beach, they would always search for stones and they always want to bring them home, the big ones, the small ones. So we have a lot of stones also at our house. And yeah, you know what? I do wonder sometimes, maybe before, you know, um, sort of going towards the closure of this talk, but still, sometimes I have challenges what to do with all the stones. And I've been thinking even before when you were mentioning all of the pictures you take, we have also challenges with pictures. We collect this creativity that really inspire us, give us joy, it moves us. But then sort of on my side, sometimes I feel it sort of stays in the air, like I wouldn't be integrating it. Like I love this, they bring the stone back to you and they sort of close a journey in either form you mentioned. But when we're at home and maybe have things we do collect from creativity, but you know what I'm asking? Sort of it's open. Maybe that is a connection that you're sharing, and that's good thing. But sometimes I feel like, you know, don't know what to do with that creativity.
Well, I'll never deal with all my photos. It's not possible. And I was thinking about this today, like I'm behind. I haven't listened to any of the videos from that chorus, and I haven't listened to any of the videos of that chorus, and I haven't listened to any of the videos of that chorus, and I haven't listened to all my books on Audible, and I haven't listened, I haven't read all the books I have in my house. But I think I'm more of it always cycles back through. So if there's a photo that I'm supposed to connect to today for whatever I'm going through, I'll find it. If there's a card I'm supposed to pull, it'll come to me. If there's a song I'm supposed to hear, I'll find it. If there's a stone I need, it'll be there for me. I mean, I cleaned out my papers beside my chair last week and I found poppy seeds from a year ago. So I'll plant them this year or I'll give them to somebody. I think that we have to have faith that we just can't hold it all.
Mm-hmm.
We can't hold it all. We can't process all. I mean, I have a vision board up here for the book I started writing in 2010 that I haven't finished. That's 16 years ago. I've done other books. I've written other parts. Maybe when I retire, I'll finish it, and maybe I won't. But there's a hundred other things I did instead.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess I just have faith that the hundred other things were the things I was supposed to do. Maybe 100's a high number. Could be a low number. But I think that it's kind of like the garden. I planted probably 100 tulips before the frost, all over the garden. I know that 1/3 won't take because of weather and 1/3 won't take because of varmints. And if I get 1/3 of my tulips showing up, I'm doing well. But I'm not going to stop planting tulips. I just accept that the 1/3 that show up are the 1/3 that I need this year. Does that help?
Yeah, I think it comes back to that difference to rational linear process where you have a path and a clear result. And creativity is different. You maybe don't know where you're going to land. You're just, creativity comes and flows. And, like you said, it's like tulips. Some will flourish and some will just, give us something to nurture the soil for the other tulips to grow. This is what I'm getting.
Yeah, and what I say to students is when you plant something, you don't keep digging up the soil to see if it's growing. Right? And I think that sometimes when we create, there's this impulse to dig up the soil and see if it's growing. When we're healing, we want to dig up the soil and see if we're healing. But until we see a new sprout or a new leaf, sometimes we don't know. And we just have to wait and see what will grow. And sometimes what grows is like not at all what we expected. I thought I had a flower and I remember I got a green pepper. But I got a green pepper. So I guess it's hard sometimes to detach from outcome. Because we think I'm going to do this and I'm going to get this and this is how my life's going to go and this is what's going to happen and this is going to have its results. And people say to me, how can you do your job for 24 years? Aren't you bored? Bored is the last thing I am in my job. Overwhelmed by the chaos, wondering how am I ever going to figure something out, confused by what to do with student A, hoping student B calls me, hoping student C shows up, hoping student D figures it out, hoping student E and student F can sort out their issues. Who has time to be bored? It's just constant chaos and life in motion. It's wonderful. If I detach from outcome, if I stop trying to fix, because really, I can't fix anything. I can offer, I can invite, I can educate, I can support, I can suggest. I cannot fix.
That sounds like a true healing, because when we heal, we also don't know where are we going to land,
We don't.
because we're creating a new path, something creative. We can be creative in our healing journey.
It's like when I fell on Christmas Day and I hurt my shoulder. And the first day I couldn't even touch my ear. And I remember I tried to do 10,000 hands and I was doing it like this. This arm was here and this arm was over here. I couldn't move my arm. And so every day I'd be like, and then the next week would be, and now it hurts a little, but I can do it, right? And I keep saying my cells will return to the natural healing state. Now, did I have a linear process? Did I do X this day and Y this day and D this day? No, I just kept moving my body as much as it allowed me to.
Thanks for sharing that. And I can imagine you had many teachers on your way of healing and exploring life. Would you maybe be open to share one person that really impacted your journey of healing or as a counselor?
Hmm. Now, I was thinking about this question this morning, and I have to say, Paula, one of them is you. I was thinking after we met in that self-care workshop, we texted each other every day for a year, and you encouraged me to move every day for a year. I remember that. And you're always so bright and full of life, but the fact that you show up every day, 5 days a week to do qigong from I guess for you it's 8, is it 8 to 8:30 for you?
Yes.
Yeah.
8 o'clock, yeah.
I think that is that consistency of movement practice and that regulated nervous system that I keep going back to, right? Like it's that helps me when I don't want to move. I think in my mind, well, if Paula can move 5 days a week for half an hour, and I know that's not all she moves in her day, I know she still goes and walks, then I think I can spend 5 minutes on Qigong, right? And to like your rooted in regulation course to really help me understand nervous system regulation. I mean, I think because movement is not my strength, like I like to move, but it's not my strength, and I think that it's the teachers that help me with the things that are harder for me that I think more of.
Oh, that really resonated with me, and how I see Paula and cherish her in my life. But I will pass it to you, Paula, from here.
Aw, that was beautiful. That was very kind. Thank you. Okay, just as we come to a close here, if someone's going through a really challenging time right now, as we've met people along our journeys, what would be a little bit of wisdom that you could share with them?
Be kind to yourself. I think it always goes back to compassion. I think when we're going through the toughest time, for some reason, we're hard on ourselves. We think we should figure out, and I think to give yourself permission just to not judge, just be curious and notice what might help you, what one thing might help you, but to be really compassionate and just stop for 5 minutes and just try to sit and be kind to yourself.
Mm.
And see what comes up for what you might need. And maybe you need support, and to be okay with asking for support, to be okay with asking for help, to be okay with whether that help is calling someone or, you know, buying a pre-made meal or, um, reading something on the internet that like about stress or anxiety that might help you, or that it's okay to be human and to ask for help, and to realize a lot of people are struggling right now. There are things going on in our world that are very painful, and that is real, and that is going to impact our, especially if you're empathic, it's going to impact you, it's going to impact your emotions, it's going to impact how you show up. So anything that you can do to be more compassionate to yourself, and anything that you can do to nourish your system, do something fun, joyful, creative, because if we all do something fun, joyful, and creative, it will all connect together, and then we'll create a better world.
Tanya, I'm so grateful that you joined us today. Your wisdom, your beautiful presence has offered just so much to us and to our listeners. So from my heart to yours, thank you so much for being with us today.
My pleasure.
Yeah, thank you, Tanya, so much for sharing your art, your wisdom, and showing up how is it to show up as a human. So grateful to share this space with you today. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Remember to take a breath, find a moment to move, to create art, and invite joy into your day. And of course, subscribe, like, and follow our podcast. Until next time on Stressless, enjoy more.